Welcome to the Positive Productivity Podcast, episode 278. The Positive Productivity Podcast was created to empower entrepreneurs to achieve and appreciate personal and professional success. I'm your host, Kim Sutton, and if you're ready, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Positive Productivity. This is your host, Kim Sutton, and I'm so thrilled that you are here to join us today. I'm also thrilled to introduce our guest, Max Finn. Max is the co-founder of Unicorn Innovations. Max has a phenomenal background, and rather than me try to share it with you, I'm just going to ask Max, hi Max, to come on in and tell us all about himself.
Awesome. That's a great place to start. Well, it's good to be here, Kim. I appreciate having a podcast, and I appreciate getting the bloopers and everything out early is good, right? Instead of starting off on a perfectionist foot, make the mistakes early on, and then you're ready to go.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is my least favorite part about doing podcasts or really any type of talk is the introduction, just because it's very unnatural and strange to talk about yourself. And but I will do it nonetheless. So, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 plus years. Since college, I've been involved in the startup space, founded my first company while I was still in school. We raised several $1 million in venture funding. It was a long tail kind of micro-influencer platform that allowed brands to incentivize the everyday customer and reward them for creating content and doing certain actions. So if, Domino's was launching a new pizza flavor, new special, they could run a campaign on our app to pay $1 or a discount or some type of micro reward for people to take a photo, like a selfie with the pizza. And so we worked with a lot of big companies, Adobe, Domino's. We worked with a lot of local companies. It was very successful. We had about 500,000 users at our peak. And the mobile app world has changed dramatically in the last, since had this company back in 2011, 2012. So back then it was all about organic. You couldn't really pay to do anything. So very challenging. We, had a pretty big team at the time, made tons and tons of mistakes, but we learned a lot. And what I learned towards the end of that company was, my passion really was all about digital marketing and more so the direct response aspect of it, of being able to get the right message to the right person at the right time to convince them, motivate them to do something, whether it's buy something, like something, share something. It's a really interesting phenomenon that you can do that. And I think people take it for granted as marketers, how powerful that is to be able to stop somebody in the tracks in Facebook and get them to click something and then pull out their credit card and purchase something when they didn't know about it 5 minutes ago. And so that kind of put me down my journey of getting more involved in the direct response digital marketing world, e-commerce world. Started my first store called Startup Drugs right towards the tail end of the Daily 100, which is the name of my first startup. And it kind of took off out of the gate. We got really lucky on the organic side of things. We got founded this company called Product Hunt, which is a huge company now. It was really early back then, but basically it lists the top apps and startups. The community votes them in and they upvote them. So if you get the most voted app of the day or startup of the day, you get tons and tons of traffic. So we got 30,000 people to our site in a week. And that kind of took off, and we still have that company. It's a lot of fun. It's basically an entrepreneurial lifestyle brand. So we make t-shirts and posters and canvases and all kinds of cool products for entrepreneurs and startup founders.
Thank you for explaining what that was, because when I initially saw Startup Drugs, I was like, I know the cannabis industry is growing. But then when I saw what it was, I was like, oh, I need to check this out.
So the name always gets people. It's really, the funny thing is people ask me well, do you ever think about the implications of having drugs in the name and stuff? I was like, when I started the company, it was not supposed to be a company. I was doing it for fun. I thought this would be a fun thing. Maybe some of my friends would buy a t-shirt. I had no idea at the time that this would be a business 5 years from now, that it would still be growing. And we have, customers like the Miami Dolphins and Russell Brunson and Tom Bilyeu and all these huge people. But sometimes that's how it goes. Usually the things that you don't expect to be home runs end up being your most successful. So just to fast forward to today, over the last kind of 3 years, I've been really involved in the agency world. Jeremy Adams, my partner, and I had a digital marketing agency with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. We've known Kevin for a few years. We've been friends with him, business partners. We still do deals together today, but the agency, we worked with some big companies like 3M and Sam's Club. We launched a lot of really cool, innovative products. And that helped us get a 2 Comma Club award with ClickFunnels for building $1 million funnel for a single product. And we actually did $4.5 million in about a 4-month window with one of our products. And so that kind of put us on the map on the direct response world. And flash forward to today, Jeremy and I have a company called Unicorn Innovations, which is a kind of a hybrid company. We do a lot of customer acquisition, and then we also have an educational side of the business. So we run traffic for a select group of companies. They have to be usually doing high 6 figures and growing rapidly, or at least 7 figures. And then we have a coaching and info product side of the business. We have our Facebook Ad IQ Academy, which is our Facebook course. That is about 100 plus video training videos, 40 hours of content. We have 2,000 plus students in there. It's been a really, really fun experience. And the success of our first course inspired us to start building more of a robust training platform. So we're launching a lot of courses in 2018. We're launching Amazon courses, LinkedIn courses, basically bringing in the smartest people in the world that are experts on these topics to create these programs for business owners, entrepreneurs, marketers, and even companies at an enterprise level that want to take their marketing, their e-com stores, their businesses to the next level. So that's where Unicorn Innovations is today. That's where I'm at today. And it's exciting to get to share with lots of people. And hopefully today we get to talk to a lot of cool people that listen to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. Listeners, if you haven't listened to it yet, Jeremy, Max's partner, was on episode 258. So you can go back and listen to his episode at thekimsutton.com/pp258. I didn't even think to ask him, Max, how did you come up with the name?
My fiance actually came up with a name. So the idea of having like a unicorn. So a unicorn is a term for $1 billion company. It's a very common term in Silicon Valley and in the tech world and startup world, because that's been the term for the last 15 years. I'm drawing a blank on her name right now, but she was a general partner at Kleiner Perkins, I believe. Ellen, I think it's Ellen, not Ellen Page. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she came up with the term of a unicorn. She's a venture capital investor a while back, and that kind of stuck. And so now that's what you call a company that's valued at $1 billion. So it kind of made sense that Unicorn IQ is like a billionaire IQ, $1 billion company IQ. And Unicorn Innovations is obviously the parent company on top of that. So it's a fun character. We got to have a fun mascot, which is awesome. We get to have fun branding. And it fits in with what our long-term goal is for both our company and the people that we're teaching and running traffic for.
I had no idea that that's what unicorn, like that there was that association, because I see entrepreneurs sharing images of unicorns all the time. And I always thought that it was actually about how original they are and how unique, and let me be a unicorn. And
well, it is. So that's the mythology. So the reason that that word stuck with startups is that they're rare. So they don't exist, but if they did exist, they'd be incredibly rare. And $1 billion company is a very rare thing. So the underlying definition and like mythology behind unicorns inspired the terminology that was used to explain these startups that are achieving this massive status as a $1 billion company.
Oh, fabulous. Learn something new every day.
And it's Eileen Lee. I needed to make sure I gave the right credit. So Eileen Lee is the woman who actually first termed the unicorn. They came up with that idea for calling $1 billion company unicorn. So I wanted to make sure I gave her the shout out as the originator.
I have a feeling you just educated a whole lot of listeners. Max, I need to share that my first business was not intended to be a business either. I bought a scrapbooking magazine for my ex-mother-in-law that I was going to give to her for Christmas. It was 6 months before I was pregnant with my second child. And I have to admit, I started looking through it. I wasn't even a scrapbooker, but I saw this cool tool that I wanted. It was a die cutting tool, and I just had to buy it. And it wasn't a lot of money. It was $75, but at that time it was a lot of money. So I decided I needed to pay it off. So I started selling die cuts on eBay for $1 or $1.50, which was ridiculous because some of them took me 2 to 3 hours to make 6 to 12 die cuts, and I was selling them for $1.50.
Wow.
But I made all the classic mistakes that you could possibly make, including Google AdWords. I had no idea what I was doing when I set up my terms, and I accidentally spent $800 in one day, which was, well, actually is more than a house payment where I live in Ohio. I just wanted to cry.
It's amazing that can happen. It's if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily spend a lot of money. That's the easiest thing in the world to do is spend money on Facebook ads or Google ads or pretty much anywhere online. If they have your credit card, it's pretty easy to spend money fast.
I'm so happy to hear that you're Facebook IQ. I've worked with so many clients and I've seen so many entrepreneurs out there who, when they're asked, who's your ideal client, they say everyone. And I used to be one of those people as well when I started this round of business. The scrapbooking business never made me more than $0.25 a day. That's how bad it was. But when I started this business, I thought everyone was my ideal client as well. And I could never understand why my conversions were so low. It was because I just wasn't going after the right audience. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and people are talking about...
Well, I can pick up over there. So let me, while you recover on that one, let me tell you. So the amazing thing about most businesses, it's not unique. And if your business falls in this category, you shouldn't feel bad about it. But when you're a new entrepreneur or a new business owner, your focus initially is, I need to make money. I need to get customers. I need recurring sales. I need to pay the bills, especially if you're coming from a 9-to-5 job and now you go your first month or two without a paycheck. People get scared. I'm blessed in that I never had that. So from day one, since I was 19 years old, I've never had a consistent paycheck. So I'm used to it. Like it's nothing to me to not have money for a month or two. You get used to that very fast. Fortunately, I'm no longer have to worry about money anymore. But for 10 plus years, that was my world. And a lot of people can't handle that, especially if you're coming from somebody with a safety net. So you end up taking any business that you can get, any client that you can get. And the problem is that the lower paying clients, the people that are willing to write you a check and finagling with you and nickel and diming you and trying to get your price down, every 10 times out of 10, those are going to be your most time intensive clients. What's amazing is that we've worked with some of the biggest companies in the world and some of the biggest people in the world. And so with whether it's 3M or Pat Flynn or some huge figures we work with, those people require such little handholding. They're such easy clients. They check in, once a month, twice a month, maybe. There are no headaches. The people that are paying way, way less are the ones that need daily updates. They're on you every day. Hey, we didn't make money today, because they need that money. Like $1,000, somebody that only has $5,000 in the bank, that's 25% of everything they have. 20% of what they have. So they're going to be really, really all over you. So it's important while you're looking at what type of client you should take on, what type of business I should take on, to understand that just because it's easy money and just because you can be the lowest price option, get a lot of clients, doesn't mean that's going to be the best thing for your business growing long-term or the most profitable thing. In fact, you're probably going to get to a point, which everyone gets to in the agency world. We got to that point where you take on lots and lots of clients because it's easy money they're giving to you. And then you realize 2-3 months in that we took on a bunch of wrong clients. They're a huge pain. We can't make them happy. There's very little upside in this deal. Plus, they're also missing a lot of things. This is the other critical piece that agency owners or marketers don't think about when they're taking on clients that can only afford $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month, is the businesses that aren't successful yet, don't have, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million run rates. They don't have all of their stuff figured out, meaning that they're still, if you're a new business, you're still trying to figure out the right price for your product, who your ideal customer is. You're still, maybe you're tweaking your website and your funnels. You don't know your brand identity, your voice. You don't have branding guidelines. You're missing all of these critical components that a successful business needs to have in place. So what ends up happening as the digital marketer or the agency or whoever you are in that relationship is you can do an exceptional job. You can drive the most profitable, the best traffic, have the best retargeting ads, the best sequence. Everything you do can be great. But if the pricing doesn't make sense and they don't have user-generated content, the product hasn't been tested, there's all the other things that the business owner doesn't have in place yet, you're going to fail, and the business owner is going to blame you, not themselves. They're either going to ask you to help them with it, or they're going to try to fire you or nickel and dime you because it's not making money. So when we made the switch from taking on anybody that wants to pay us to a very, very specific type of client that we're charging the most for, everything improved. Our client satisfaction improved, our results improved, our retention improved. We are more profitable. We work less. Literally across the board, every metric you track was improved by getting rid of the low quality clients, the businesses that are just getting started, that haven't seen success yet, and just focusing on already successful businesses that are growing rapidly and really need the specific marketing expertise that you can deliver, and they're willing to pay for it.
You just described about a 2-year span of my clients.
Yeah, and it's for a lot of people, it can be way more than 2 years. Some people it can be 10 years. They don't figure it out, or they know it, but they're not. What's even scarier is people that know what I just said, but they don't want to make a change because they're scared to not get the price they're looking for. So a lot of people have a fear of, if I ask for $5,000 a month, they're going to say, like, the people need to realize the worst thing that people say is no. That's the worst thing that can happen. If you go into a client negotiation and say, this is what our monthly retainer is, we charge $5,000 a month at minimum, or 10% of ad spend, whichever is higher. And we do this because, we're the best at what we do. We, deliver results. We need to be incentivized. We're not going to be the lowest quality option, lowest price option. We're going to be the highest quality. A lot of people are scared to do that because they don't want to get turned down. They don't want to hear no's. And, unfortunately, that mindset caps your business. You're not going to grow past a certain point because you just can't, you're a volume play then. And volume plays, especially in a service-based business, are very, very hard to scale because you need to keep bringing on human capital to handle those accounts. Each one of those individuals is a pretty, heavy fixed cost. So it's very, very hard to do that. Whereas our model is incredibly lean right now. We only take on a handful of clients, and we charge, anywhere from $10,000 to $35,000 a month minimum on a retainer basis, plus ad spend, plus a percent of ad spend, and potentially a revenue kicker. And that allows us to be really lean. It allows us to do really, really high quality work because we're only working with a handful of businesses. And it ensures that we can be very, very profitable and scale and bring on really, really high quality people, like A-level talent, because we can afford to pay them instead of having to only be able to afford, low quality work, kids that are just out of college that aren't really skilled or talented. Now you got to train them, you got to handhold them. There's a lot more quality control. There's this ripple effect across your business if you become a volume play in a service-based business.
Max, when I came back to my business after having my twins in early 2015, I had no clients, and I was a new Infusionsoft certified partner. I wasn't confident in my rate. I was charging $50 an hour, which is very low for an Infusionsoft certified partner. So when I was putting out proposals on Upwork, because I was still getting all my work through Upwork, I was winning just about every project I put out for because I was an Infusionsoft certified partner and because I was charging the same as the other contractors who weren't. So all of a sudden, within a month, I had 30 new clients, which is, it's scaring me just to think about it. Like, I would never want to go back 3 years ago to that point. So I ended up having to hire the contractors that I was bidding against. And unfortunately, it wasn't the end of me charging that rate, but one of the final straws was that I was on vacation with my family, and there was a client who had tremendous scope creep, and the way that he was getting more and more was while I was on vacation, he actually sent me a text message with a suicide threat if I didn't help him. Yeah.
My jeez.
Listeners, charge your worth. Do not be worried about competing with other people.
Yeah.
Instead, look at your quote competition as referral partners and get really clear on who you want to work with. And if somebody comes to you that's not yours, find a partner that you can send that person to. But what I also noticed is that when I was charging that, amount, just like you were saying, Max. Like my clients were actually in scarcity mode. They had no idea what they were wanting. They were messaging me, slacking me, texting me at 10:30, 11 on nights and weekends. Can you build out this funnel for me tonight? Because they just came up with a brand new idea, and that's not how you're going to be successful. John Lee Dumas says it perfectly. His definition of focus is follow one course until success. It took me 3.5 years to get that into my thick head. I couldn't be launch hopping. Is that what it's called? Like going from one product to the next.
Yep. No, it's a very very real threat for business owners, especially on the agency side of it. And unfortunately, it takes people in our world getting to a point where they're literally on the verge of either bankruptcy or just going crazy to realize that, like, I made a bad decision going this route. So what you said a few minutes ago is really important, which is, I've had multiple companies that had lots of employees, and it is so easy to hire people. Like hiring, and when I say easy, I mean relatively to what I'm about to say. Like hiring the right people is challenging. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but getting somebody to agree to work for you is a relatively easy process compared to firing. So it is a lot easier to offer people a job and money and bring them onto your company than it is to go into somebody's office and say, hey, we got to fire you. Like it takes a lot more planning, a lot longer. If you have, if they're W-2 and you can have severance packages, you can have, contract. There's a lot of issues that come with that. So what happens with a lot of people is they, on the volume play side, or they're charging a little amount, they staff up rapidly. So all of a sudden you get 30 clients, 40 clients. You're like, well, I need a lot of work. So I'm going to go out there and hire a bunch of people. And all of a sudden you hire, 8, 10, 15, 20 people. You now got to onboard all those people. You got to train them. You got to bring in managers. You got to put systems in place. It's a lot of work. And then if those 30 clients after month 2 and month 3, all of a sudden they run out of money. Because remember, if you're working with people that can't afford to pay what you're worth, they could go out of business tomorrow. If you're dealing with a client or a company where they're nickel and diming you at $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, it is very likely that 6 months from now, they're not going to be in business. They make one bad bet, one bad investment, they're done. And now they're no longer a client from you, even if you have a contract with them. They don't have money, they can't pay you. So now you got to go and you got to fire people. You got to downsize. You got to get rid of 10 people, 15 people. That crushes morale of your company. And there's this cyclical up and down swing. Whereas if you focus on staying very lean and finding partners that are very, very high quality that you can sub work out to on a project by project basis, it is so much more profitable. You control a lot more of the elements. It's not, they're not on contracts with you. They're not hired for other work. It's literally, hey, we have this client just came on. They need these funnels built. We're going to pay you X for this. By that point, you've already collected the money from the client, and now you're collecting the spread. It's a lot more control, a lot less risk, and that's what we do at Unicorn. We obviously, still do a lot of stuff internally. I still run a lot of campaigns for our high level projects, but we have people that are better than me at SEO, at native advertising, at funnel building, at email marketing. We know the best of the best, and unfortunately for better or worse, it depends on whose perspective you're looking at. A lot of people who are very talented don't charge their worth. This is what we're talking about here, but there's an arbitrage opportunity for agency owners because you can find very talented people who are just not confident in their skills yet. And I can recognize talent. They might not know how talented they are yet. They're just getting started. They don't have a track record. So they're totally undercharging what their value is. And you can get an incredible deal. They're happy because they're getting paid. They don't have to sell anything. You're doing that all for them. They just do what they love. You're charging the ultra premium because the quality of the work is there and the caliber of the client's there and everyone's happy. And so that model is much more profitable and scalable than trying to build a very personnel heavy volume based agency early on.
Did you know when you were young, and I mean middle school, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and have your own business?
Yeah, so I'm a unique case because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I like to talk about this a lot when I do podcasts or interviews because it is unique. And it wasn't until probably the last few years that I've realized how lucky I am. Like my grandfather's an entrepreneur. My dad's an entrepreneur. They both built some incredibly large companies, international companies, one of which is the largest privately owned commercial real estate company in the world called NAI Global. And so I lived through that. I saw the ups and downs. I saw the benefits of that, the negatives of that. But that's like all I knew was that that's what you do. Like I wasn't exposed to, the dad or the grandparent or like, goes to work at 9, comes to home at 5, is off on weekends. Like I just didn't see that world, at least at home. And so by the time I got to, middle school and high school and started to think about what I want to do with my life, that was never, an option. Like I never understood how, and again, this isn't like I'm not making it seem like it's an insult or a negative thing, but just from my perspective, I could never rationalize in my head doing something for 50 to 60 years of my life, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, where I didn't have any control. I didn't get to say why we're doing this, what the goals are, what the long-term vision is, that I didn't love doing, that I didn't have a passion for, and that I didn't have tremendous upside in. And for a lot of people, that's you spend almost your entire life doing something that like the biggest chunk of your time is working, and you're building somebody else's dream. You're building somebody else's vision. You don't have the level of control that you have as an entrepreneur. Now, the argument for that on the other side is, well, there's a lot more stability. There's a lot less risk. There's more consistency. There's retirement, all that angle of it, which used to be the go-to argument for why I would take the corporate job, the 9 to 5 job. What's crazy though, is that, 2008, 2009, like that level of security and stability that we all thought we had as 9 to 5 workers got evaporated. You saw companies that were multi-billion dollar companies that had pensions and 401ks and all kinds of retirement plans go out of business. And when that happens, all of a sudden your pension it's all gone, right? If the company goes out of business and it's private, it's, the 401ks are private, you don't have that stability. And so when I look at it, I say, well, I can either go and do something I don't love, that I don't have control over, that I now don't even have like job security in, or I can do what I love every day, follow my passion, build my own future, and have the upside that I own and control 100% of, that I don't have to worry about some other person making a stupid business decision and ruining my future, which is what happened in Wall Street. It's what happened in the real estate world. Like a group of people made very, very stupid bets that cost millions of people their job security and their future. And that's why now you have, 85-year-old women working as baggage clerks at Whole Foods for that. So that's my rant on on like why I think the 9 to 5 model is interesting that people still take that nowadays, and why I can never do it, as just from my perspective.
Yeah, my mom has actually asked me a couple times, because we've had plenty of financial struggle in the last 5 years. And she asked me a couple times, well, don't you think it's time to go back and look for a real job? And then my 12-year-old son has asked me, well, do you think you can find somebody that you can do what you do for, like work for them full time, so that you get paid what you get paid now for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week? So I had to explain to him that that's not how it works.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I went to school to be an interior architect, and I know what I got paid. I mean, I got paid about $40,000 a year. So what's that, about $20 an hour? And I know that my billable rate was $125 to $200. So I had to explain that to my son, that it's not going to be my billable rate that I'm getting paid full time. Somebody else is going to make that money. And thankfully, or eventually he got it. He began to understand that. But I can't even imagine. I actually lost my job at the end of 2008. I was designing schools in Ohio, which is where I live. And I'm outside of Dayton, Ohio. So our GM factory, DHL, like we were really hard hit around here. And all school improvements had to be approved by bond issues, like the tax issues, and the community stopped passing them. So there was no more schoolwork to be done. So I unfortunately fell victim to the recession myself. But I can't imagine going back. I was actually just thinking about that this morning. You know, what I miss about working a 9 to 5 job. And it was never 9 to 5 because you had to account for commute. I don't miss people watching when I go to use the restroom to see how long I'm gone. I don't miss people like looking at their watch when I come in or leave. The only thing I think I really miss is like the potluck lunch that we would have, but there's ways around that. I mean, find an entrepreneur group and do a potluck.
Yep, it's a interesting, but it's perplexing to me, and I guess again I realize the fact that I'm unique and I kind of have blinders on because this is all I've done. I try, like in high school and college I worked plenty of crappy jobs. I think everyone should work a deli job, a service job. Like I worked in a deli from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for multiple summers, and I think it's important to understand what like an 80-hour work, like a manual, like on your feet work week is like. I think everyone should have to do that. That's super important to build character and ethic and understand what it's like to truly have to do work. And so I think that's important. But at the same time, it's so hard to understand how I could ever just wake up every morning, Monday to Friday, and like not be happy, like not be excited to do what I got to do that day. It's like when you're going to school, right? When you're in high school and middle school, you're like, okay, I'm looking at my clock. Okay, last class, it's almost over. It's almost over. And I feel like that's the way it is for work for a lot of people. It's like, I can't wait for this to be over so I can go do this. Like this is just a means to an end. I got to go through this, 8-9 hours so I can go home and do things I actually enjoy doing. And for me, it's the exact opposite. This is like what I love to do. I'm so blessed and fortunate that I get to do what I love to do. I get to work with my best friends. I get to work from home. I get to, there's all these benefits, but at the same time, it's what I want to make sure people don't think is that people think that's easy. Because I think that's the other misconception that the media, I don't want to sound like the media, but like Silicon Valley and TV shows and some things have made it seem like there's this golden world in Silicon Valley, New York, and Boston and major cities where you go there with an idea and somebody writes you a check for $5 million and you get this fancy office and you live this elaborate life. I think some people have that like thought about that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur, that you're an overnight success, all these people that all of a sudden became billionaires overnight or millionaires overnight. And the reality is that the only reason you think that is because you didn't know who that person was for the last 10, 20, 30 years because they were nobody. So the only time you know about them is when they're successful. So you think that they just became successful overnight. The reality is that they've worked every day, not just weekdays, Saturdays and Sundays, around the clock, sacrificing everything else to get to that point. And that is a truth for every entrepreneur. That's a truth for my grandpa. My grandpa went through it. My dad went through it. I saw it personally over, many, many years of paying everybody else in the company and not paying himself, taking care of everybody else to get to the point where he has everything he wants. And the same thing's for me. It's, for the last 10 years, I've sacrificed, I've borrowed money, I've maxed credit cards, I've done everything possible to scrape and crawl to keep going to finally get to a point where the rewards happen, to the point where, now I don't have to worry about those things anymore. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to get to that point where all of a sudden people think you're an overnight success. So it is important for anybody listening to understand that it's not something you just decide that I'm going to quit my 9 to 5, become an entrepreneur, and make a ton of money next month, or supplement my income next month, or 2 months from now, or 3 months from now. You need to be prepared that it is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the next month or 2 months. That you're going to be working really, really hard for months or maybe even years before you have that huge payoff. But the reality is that if you're doing what you love, it shouldn't matter that much.
I love Mondays. Do you love Mondays as much as I do?
Yeah, I don't even. The funny thing is that it's like a Monday's just another day, right? Because I work Saturdays and Sundays, so it's not even like it doesn't have the same impact as it does for most people, where it's the start of the work week, because my work week never really ends. I actually like weekends more than Mondays, and not for the reason that people listening probably think. I like weekends because it's 2 days that a majority of my competition and other people out there are not doing anything, that I'm improving my skills, that I'm growing my business, that I'm doing things to improve my intellect and my skills and my business. And that gives me 2 days every week, 8 days every month that I get that gap, that I keep increasing that gap between my competition. So I actually like weekends a lot more for that reason. But Mondays are great too. It's the same thing. People are, tired, they're lazy, they're not working fully, and you're just, in the zone because you're, doing what you love.
I should clarify. I love Mondays because I can send all my kids back to school and focus
Okay.
on
I
what
don't
I
have
love.
kids, so yeah. So I don't have.
If you ever want to borrow 5 for a weekend, you might not like weekends as much. I love my kids, listeners. Do not get me wrong. But I love the quietness when everybody is out of my hair on a weekend, because it's also when team members and clients are off doing their own thing, and I can really get in and focus on my business and not in my business. That's why I love weekends. But with all my kids, that doesn't usually happen because it's always mom something, I need this, I need that, get me more milk, whatever. So my husband thinks I'm crazy because he's still working out of the house, but every Sunday night I'm like, I'm so ready for Monday, and he's just, yeah, because he's in this, he's working
That's
on,
fun.
he's a video game developer and he's working on his first game. But in the meantime, he's working full time out of the home, and it's not always the ideal situation for him. Do you think that you'll be able to retire? I don't mean financially.
Yeah, not in the traditional sense. I don't think so. It just doing nothing is, when I say doing nothing, I mean just kind of sitting around and relaxing. It's fun for like a few days, and then all of a sudden you get, and this is even just now because I haven't really taken me and my fiance haven't taken many vacations in the last few years for a lot of reasons, but it's very challenging when you have the kind of the mindset of an entrepreneur where you look at the world very differently, and instead of just kind of letting the world pass you by and looking at, just that's a car passing by, this person doing this person doing this, you're looking at like problems and flaws and ways that you can improve things. Like, hey, wouldn't it be way more efficient if you could do this? Like, wouldn't it be cool to have this type of product, this software, this feature? And that's the way I look at things on a daily basis. And I know it can frustrate my fiance sometimes, and people sometimes, because they're like, just enjoy it, just ignore it. But it's very hard to do that. So I don't envision that there would be a point where I would be able to say like, okay, I'm done for the next 30 years. We're just going to like hang out and travel and do nothing. I think that would be very, very difficult to do. And I think it's important to take breaks and, realize the benefits of all the hard work. But at the same time, I think it should be like intermittent. Like maybe you take a few months out of the year. At a certain point, you try and transition. So it's, instead of working 12 months a year, maybe you're working, 8 months or 7 or 6 months, and the other months you're intermittently, traveling and doing things other than work. So it's kind of like a partial retirement. But again, like I don't work. I do what I love to do. Like everything I do on a daily basis is super fun, and it's things that I would do to like and have a good time. It's as crazy as it sounds. So I wouldn't really be even retiring from anything because I'm not working on a daily basis.
I don't think I'll be able to retire. To be totally honest, the 5 minutes before bed is hard enough. I have chronic idea disorder, and I get ideas in those 5 minutes. So I can't even imagine. I can't imagine an hour or a week. Maybe I need to try it. But I just can't imagine, because it drives my husband crazy because I'll whip out the phone or have to turn on the light to write something down. He got smart though, and he bought me a book light for Christmas. So now I don't have to get out of bed, and I can. Yeah. I always have my notebook right there, so I can write it down and then try to get to sleep again. But usually it's a little bit of a battle with whatever's going through my head.
Yep, it's definitely a challenge, and I think it's no different that you look at Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or the kind of laundry list of Jeff Bezos or people that are billionaires that are incredibly successful and have no need to work anymore. They probably haven't needed to work for the last 20, 30, 40 years, but they do it because like that's they're doing something bigger, right? Like what Jeff Bezos is building at Amazon. It's not about making him money and like building a company that makes money. It's about changing the world. Elon Musk, the same thing. He's building companies that are genuinely solving massive problems that impact our entire civilization. He's trying to colonize other planets, and he's trying to figure out a fossil fuel crisis and save our planet. Like he's working for that, not to just keep making money. The interesting thing with when you start doing that is when you do follow your passions and you work on your passions, you do better work, you work harder, and as a byproduct, you're usually more successful. So what's interesting is the people that are doing their passion, following their passions and following their dreams and actually building those companies end up being the most successful financially because of that factor.
Max, do you have a routine that you follow, a daily routine?
We kind of talked about this offline a little bit before we started the call, but for everyone that's listening, I'm a very unorganized person, and I probably need to work on improving my organization and like kind of writing down tasks and tracking things a little better. But honestly, I have a calendar and people add things to it. It's a shared calendar and I show up where I'm supposed to show up. But for the most part, I just, when I wake up, like I do what I think I should be doing at that point. Like what's interesting to me, what I want to do. There's really not a consistent structure of, I think some people say, hey, I wake up at 9 every day. I drink a cup of coffee exactly this time. I check emails for 30 minutes. I do this for an hour. I do this for 2 hours. For me, and I maybe I'm unique or different, but like it's hard to do that because every day is different. There's so many external variables, and it's contextual that, if I get 200 emails tonight versus 1,000 on another day, like I shouldn't have just a block of time for checking emails like some people do, because it might take me 5 minutes to do it each day, or it might take me an hour to do it each day. And that throws off the entire rest of the daily schedule. So it's interesting to me that people that have like very, very specific schedules and routines, how that works, because every day is different. The situations are different. The timing's different. The season's different. There's so many other variables out of your control. So I have goals that I set for myself, both like short-term and long-term goals. And each day I'm working to achieve those goals. So whatever that looks like for that day to move closer to accomplishing that, that's what I'm doing. But in terms of a daily structure and broken down like hour by hour or minute by minute, I've never been that person, and I probably never will be.
No, I don't have a structure either. I have started blocking out my calendar so that, there's specific times during the week when I have coaching client calls or Infusionsoft client calls or podcast interviews. But outside of that, my day is very relaxed. My alarm is set on my phone, but most days I ignore it. I guess we're fortunate as entrepreneurs that we can do that. And if I have an appointment in the morning, then I know I need to get up. But most days I don't have one that's that early. But I have the kid alarm too, so they won't let me sleep that late. Yeah.
That's true. You do. Yeah, I have a bad habit. I actually started it it's been a long time that I've been doing this, and it's almost like an OCD thing now that I do. But I was back in college. I used to love the feeling of like waking up and knowing you still have like an hour or 2 hours, like waking up early and you're supposed to wake up. So I would set like 2 or 3 alarms. So my first time I woke up would actually be like well before I go back to sleep. And that like feeling of being able to go back to sleep. And I'm sure you could talk to like a sleep doctor and they would say, that's probably terrible for you. You're probably supposed to get up, but that's kind of stuck with me. So I still do that to this day, where like I'll set an alarm for like 6 a.m. and there's no way I'm ever going to get up at 6 a.m. But I'll set it and then I'll turn it off, and there's another one ready to go for the actual time I should be getting up. It's just something that has stuck over the years that probably isn't great and isn't super efficient, but it's what I do.
That's so funny. In my mastermind group, I just need to share this. And listeners, I will include a link to this in the show notes, which you can find at thekimsutton.com/pp278. In my mastermind group, we use a app called Habit Share, and we're keeping each other accountable for our daily habits. And a couple of the mastermind members are trying to get up at 5 and 6 every morning. And I'm like, yeah, have fun with that. That's never going to make it. I mean, my biggest feat right now is taking soda out of my daily consumption. I'm a month in. It's amazing. Coffee's next. We'll see how that goes. Listeners, do not do both at the same time. That's bad news. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Max, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on the Positive Productivity Podcast today. Where can listeners find you online, get to know more about you and everything that you're doing?
Sure. So unicorninnovations.com is our primary website that has info about our company, our courses, our resources list. It has my info on there. So that's a great place to go and check out. You can also, follow me on Facebook. So Maxwell Finn. You can, follow my public figure page. You can shoot me a friend request. I don't accept every friend request. So if we don't have mutual friends, you might not accept it, but definitely follow my public figure page and check out unicorninnovations.com and our courses and all that good stuff there. And if there's anything that I can do to help you with your business, with Facebook ads, with anything, feel free to reach out to me and ping me. I think my email's on the Unicorn Innovations website, so you should be able to reach out to me that way.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And I know I'm going to be checking out a few of your courses as well, especially the Google AdWords. I don't want to go through another $800. That would be bad.
That one's coming this month, so we'll definitely be sure to let you know when that's available to the public.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Do you have a last piece of parting advice or a golden nugget that you can offer to listeners?
Sure. I think there's two things that I can end with. One is it's been a reoccurring theme through this conversation, but do what you love. It's a very simple piece of advice, but very few people actually follow through with it. And so what I ask people is if you wake up on Monday morning, or if somebody asks you to go to work on a Saturday, if your first instinct is, I don't want to do that. Like if it's a negative feeling, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to figure out what you're passionate about, what you love doing, and find a job or a career or a path or a journey that, whether it's as an entrepreneur or your own business owner or a company to work with, that you wake up excited to do that for the day. Like you're genuinely excited to go to work and build things and help clients and work on things like that. That should be your mindset. And then the second thing would be more specifically for entrepreneurs, people building their own businesses. On the e-commerce world, this is a big mistake a lot of my students make. And so I figured I would share it here. Don't just chase money and build things purely to make money. So a lot of people right now they're trying to drop ship. They're trying to do print on demand. They're basically just, they're looking at trending products and trying to piggyback on them so they can make a quick dollar. And there's too many people doing that right now. It's so saturated. And the reality is that there's a very, very, very small percentage of the people doing it that are actually going to make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And I know the people that are making the millions of dollars, and they have been doing this for 10 years, 20 years. I mean, they've been in the product space, in the marketing world for a very, very, very long time. They have massive teams. They have massive resources, both financially and time-wise and connection-wise. So it's my rule of thumb here is that like you can test things on print on demand, but your goal should be to build a company, to build a store, a brand, a business that you can add products to expand the product line. You can have an identity, inner voice. It's not just, a random dropship product. Today we're going to sell this drone, and tomorrow we're going to sell a fidget spinner, and next month we're going to sell this. That's not a sustainable way to grow a business online, and it's going to be very, very difficult if you ever do that profitably. So those are the two kind of on the wide spectrum of things that I like to share with people.
Today's episode of the Positive Productivity Podcast is brought to you by the Positive Productivity Pod. Created to empower entrepreneurs to achieve and appreciate personal and professional success without burnout, the pod offers weekly group coaching sessions, online courses, a private member community, and tons more. To learn more about the pod and to sign up, visit positiveproductivitypod.com. See you on the inside.